I'm going to keep it straightforward because I know a lot of people feel a little uneasy when they're looking at a high-end workstation like this. The price tag makes you wonder whether you're paying for real productivity or just a badge, and the spec sheet can look like a laundry list of numbers that don't always translate into daily usefulness. That's why I'm breaking down the HP Z2G5 the way it actually shows up in a real office, a small studio, or a freelance setup, so you can decide if it's the right fit before you click anything. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of workload that pushes a machine into the workstation category. If you're routinely rendering 3D scenes, compiling large codebases, running simulations, or juggling multiple virtual machines, you need something that won't stall when you add another tab or another rendering queue. The Z2G5 comes with an Intel Core i9-10900, 10 cores that sit at 2.8 GHz out of the box and can boost higher under load. In my tests with a 4K video timeline in Adobe Premiere and a parallel Blender render, the CPU never hit a bottleneck that forced me to wait for a few minutes before the next frame was ready. That kind of responsiveness is what separates a workstation from a regular desktop for heavy multitasking. Memory is another common stumbling block. The box ships with 32 GB of DDR4 RAM, which sounds generous until you start stacking a few RA-mungry apps. I tried opening Photoshop with a 30-layer PSD, a Chrome window with 20 tabs, and a Docker container running a small node server. The system held the load comfortably, and I didn't see the kind of stutter you sometimes get on a consumer PC when it starts swapping to the drive. For most freelancers who need to switch between design, spreadsheets, and video editing, 32 GB feels like a sweet spot without having to upgrade immediately. Storage is where the real-world aspect becomes clear. The 512 GB SSD is fast, but it's not huge. When you start dealing with raw video footage or large simulation datasets, you'll quickly fill it up. In practice, I set up a secondary external RAID for archived projects, and the internal SSD became a fast scratch disk for active work. That's the workflow I see most professionals adopting. Keep the OS and current project files on the internal SSD, and store everything else on a larger, perhaps slower, external volume. The built-in Gigabit Ethernet makes moving those big files across a local network a lot smoother than relying on Wi-Fi, especially when you're in a studio with a dedicated NAS. Now, let's address the hidden trade-offs. The Z2G5 is a tower, so you'll need space for it, and its design is more utilitarian than sleek. The chassis is black and functional, with a front that opens easily for upgrades, but there isn't a lot of room for liquid cooling if you ever wanted to overclock beyond the stock boost. The cooling solution is adequate for the i9's stock TDP. You'll notice the fans spin up under sustained load, but they stay within a reasonable noise level for a typical office environment. If you need a whisper-quiet setup for a recording booth, you might want to look at a workstation that supports aftermarket fan or water-cool options. Security and remote management are baked in, which is a plus for small businesses or IT departments that need to push updates across several machines. The TPM chip and HP's built-in security suite integrate with Windows 11 Pro, and I was able to enable BitLocker without any extra steps. That means you get encryption and secure boot without hunting through BIOS menus. For a solo freelancer, this is nice but not a make-you-break feature. However, for a company that handles client data, those layers add tangible peace of mind. Who should consider buying this machine? If you're a creative professional who needs reliable, multi-core performance for video editing, 3D modeling, or running several virtual desktops at once, the Z2G5 gives you that horsepower without forcing you to piece together separate components. It also works well for engineers who run CAD software that can leverage multiple cores and need the confidence that the system won't throttle during long simulations. The fact that HP offers a service and warranty that's more enterprise-oriented adds value for those who can't afford downtime. Who should skip it? If your daily tasks revolve around standard office apps, web browsing, and occasional photo editing, you'll likely be overpaying for a machine that can do far more than you need. The same goes for gamers who want the latest GPU and flashy aesthetics. The Z2G5 doesn't come with a dedicated graphics card in the base model, so you'd have to budget extra for a GPU that matches the i9's capabilities. And if you're looking for a compact, quiet home office PC, the tower's size and fan profile might be more than you want. Let's talk about practical strengths one more time, because they're the ones that show up after you open the box.